Hi, I'm Rachel Scott with Why Yoga, and this is Common Mistakes in Warrior Two. So let's look at Warrior Two together. Take your feet nice and wide on your mat. Now, nice and wide is where a lot of us first go wrong. We see a lot of Warrior Twos that are kind of here, but Warrior Two ideally is with your hands kind of over your ankles so that you can make a 90-degree angle with your front thigh. So if you have your favorite cat or favorite child and you want them to sit on your front thigh and not fall off, that's how low we're talking about getting. And since that's hard to do for many of us, we tend to cheat it a little bit and not go wide enough or not bend our knee enough. So first of all, the length of our stance is important. So you want to set yourself up with your feet wide enough, of course, unless you're working with an injury or something like that. And again, hands, right over your ankles is probably about right. Now, the second thing that we want to look at in Warrior Two is the foundation. And this seems like such a simple thing, but the foundation is really important. So for Warrior Two, I'm turning my thigh, my knee, my shin, and my foot all towards the front of my mat. So I'm turning this entirely out. Now for the back foot, we want to turn it in just a little bit. So turn the heel back. The toes are probably, it's like 15 or 20 degrees if we're going to get real specific here. And then I line up my front heel with my back arch. So that's the foundation for Warrior Two that helps us really get into this pose. Now bring your hands to your hips, right? So one of the things that happens in Warrior Two when we come into it is that the pelvis starts to tip, right? So we fall into all of these things just because they're easier for the body to do. So put your hands on your pelvis, and as you come into your Warrior Two, begin to notice, hey, am I starting to tip my own teapot or dump my pelvis forward? Those are some very common places that we try to wiggle out of this hip stretch. So with your hands on your pelvis, see if you can keep your pelvis nice and level. So if you've got your foundation set up right and you have a long enough stance and your pelvis is lifted, then we're doing pretty well here. So one more thing for Warrior Two. This knee tends to drop in. So here's probably the biggest common mistake in Warrior Two is that sometimes we think we have to do something called square our pelvis to the side of our mat. And I just want to take that and roll it up into a ball and chuck it out the window. We don't need to do that at all. In fact, most of us can't in our body because of the shape of our hip joints. So if we make the priority here to keep my knee over my ankle, right? My pelvis, as I turn it open to the side, if I go too far, watch what happens to my knee, right? The knee drops in. Now we want to keep this knee right over the ankle so that the knee joint is happy. So here's what we do. We set up our thigh really nicely. We straighten our back leg, and that's going to help turn our pelvis towards the side of our mat so we get a nice hip opening without dropping the knee in. So the pelvis is nice and level. I'm sitting deep enough into the pose. I'm keeping my knee over my ankle. Right? And in this pose, there's also a tendency again here to stick out the bum. That'll drop all of the pelvis forward, right? So really keep wrapping the front glute underneath you. One final common mistake in Warrior Two is the running warrior, right? It's when we take the pelvis and shift it and we reach forward. That's just coming from my hips. So just again, remember, if we keep that pelvis nice and level, then we're going to avoid that common error. All right, so come on out of there, turn your toes forward. I know that's a lot to think about, a lot of little fine points, but see if you can bring just a little bit of that into your poses. And here's the cool thing about it, is that once we have the foundation for Warrior Two, that's also going to help you with other poses like side angle pose or Trikonasana. The same foot position applies to all of those. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing what you can do with that in your practice.